Hello, internet friends, and welcome back, and welcome to episode number 118 of FinalBossTV, your wild game rating show. My name is Adam K, aka Bay. I'll be your host. I haven't sat in this chair at this angle in quite a long time, but mostly because the beta junket lasted for freaking ever, and it was the longest beta ever, and we were waiting and testing World of Warcraft for Legion for like, I don't know, 16 years. I did some shows, but we're back. The class and spec episodes will be starting next Sunday. I do have plans for a pre and post BlizzCon show as well, of course. But before I introduce my two guests coming on the show today, we'll be sitting down with two members of Exorsus to talk about their world first in the Emerald Nightmare. I do have to take a moment and let you guys know that this video is sponsored by Discord. So please check the links below, or if you're watching this on YouTube, check the link in the video description box below for all the different class and spec Discord servers. And of course, I'll talk more about Discord later. But that's so you know, because it's a thing. All right, friends. Joining me today here, I have a fellow DPS that just kind of hits things and moves around with the boss. Hi, Nurse. Welcome to the show. Hello.
Hey there.
Are you ready to talk about how you hit things?
Hit things. I hit it by knives, but this tier I'm using big swords. I'm a pirate rogue right now.
Yeah, what spec have you been playing for all the progression so far?
Only one, Outlaw. Of course, we're looking at different specs, but Outlaw was the best one, because there are lots of cleaves and lots of AoE stuff in this raid.
Right.
So it makes this spec is the only one you should choose.
So did you get the world first kill on Xavius because you rolled a 6-stack multiple times? Is that true?
Only on Trice and not on Xavius.
Oh,
on
no!
Scenarios, yes. But let me remind you that Xavius is not the biggest guy in this raid.
Right.
So Scenarios was. So on Scenarios, on some tries, yes, I had 6 buffs, but not more than 3 on the kill. Some of you guys have already seen the video on YouTube that we released, so I'm not lying. Only 3 buffs, not more.
Damn, that's too bad. But and also joining us as well is the GM of Exorsus. This is going to be Alveona. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm doing fine, and welcome to Russian comrades from the chat.
And chat might be a little crazy today, but I think it'll be worth it. I think it's good. But so
yeah, I think it's gonna be great.
You led all these nerds throughout all this time. So how's it feel to be done in 17 hours?
Well, it's been a tough times. However, I think we've been prepared for a very long run, so it's okay.
All right. Well, we'll go into all of that and more as we go through the show, of course. But I guess we'll fly back to both of you real quick, because I'm curious, as this is the first time that either of you have been on the show, of course, and any time that Exorsus has been, like, more in the, I guess, the public spotlight, internet limelight, I suppose. But so yeah, I'll go back to Nurse again. How long have you been in the guild, and like how has the last couple of expansions up until now been for you, and how is your history in World of Warcraft?
Well, my history in World of Warcraft begins in 2009 when I was in a last form at high school. So my friend gives me this game. So after that, I'm just in love with that. So to the Exorsus, I've joined in the beginning of the September 2014. I was playing by Windwalker Monk as main, but I played lots of classes, but most part of them, they are melee classes. So I've started a hardcore raiding at Exorsus from the beginning of the Warlords of Draenor. So that was, I don't know, some kind of introduction to this guild. So to the Rogue, I switched after the Blackhand dice, because Windwalker's monks, they wasn't so effective in this raid. 3 bosses, not more, because the single target was not so good for them. Only cleaves, lots of targets or something like that. So I've decided if I want to raid more, to be able to kill more bosses in the next raid, I need to switch class. And I decide that should be Rogue, the most unkillable, the invincible melee class in this game.
Only a little bit. Only a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Now, are you sure you made that decision? Alv didn't come to you and said, like, all right, fresh meat, you're playing a rogue now.
Well, I think Alveona can remember. 50-50, yes, because they advised me to try to play by this class. I had an alt in Mists of Pandaria, but I didn't play much for it because I was in love with Monk. They was so cool for me, but right now I'm not gonna play by this shit anymore. Sorry, monks.
Oh no. I mean, they're still really fine right now. I mean, back in Warlords, I have no idea. We had one, but our only Windwalker at the time actually went Mistweaver because we needed the extra healer to swap. So we didn't really have one. So, but he said 50-50. So Alv, over to you then. How long have you been commanding this ship? I guess I would say. How long have you been at the helm of Exorsus? And what's your background in World of Warcraft like?
Well, I've been raiding in Exorsus for like 7 years. Yeah, that much. And actually, I've been rallying and GM for 6.5 years, so almost all the time. So yeah, it was a long road for us. However, well, you know, all is well if it ends well. So. And talking about my past, I've been raiding in EverQuest 2 game before the WoW. I've been playing hardcore there too, so it's gonna be just a new step to play WoW for me at least. And I've been playing on a Prot Paladin till I think Worlds of Draenor, where I switched to Druid because they were too good. And well, now I'm playing a Warrior for some obvious reasons.
What is that? The cheeky smile right after you said that. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say you got Prot Warriors nerfed, but I think like a more general, that strat that came out got Prot Warriors nerfed. I mean, they're still good, but you kind of did that to yourselves, I guess. Man, so 6.5 years. So that's like I mean, the first like subjects I have here, I wanted to break down sort of like before we get into the nitty gritty of the nightmare itself. I wanted to take a step back to like beta testing. So how much beta testing did Exorsus do for just Legion so far? Because again, like I said in the opening, it's like the longest beta testing experience of an expansion for World of Warcraft ever. It's like 9 months somewhere in there in the whole shebang. So was it a pretty rigorous beta testing process? Were you on for like every raid testing for everything during Legion beta, Alf?
Yeah, of course, we've been testing all the bosses on every test, except for the last one, which was the Trial of Vela, because it's been a progress time, and we thought it is going to be better just to skip it, to make sure we're going to do more mythic dungeons and something like that, because I think they're going to retest it anyway, so we just forced to do more stuff on our live servers. And talking about the beta, yeah, we've been attending to anything, everything, and everywhere, because that was the aim of the guild, and I think we've been prepared for this beta way better than anywhere before it, and I think all of our roster been engaged in it like never before. I think that was the reason why we come so far and so good in Legion, at least for now.
I mean, it's wild because on the I'll jump down just to like a statistic here because you segued me into this, but like Exorsus has always been like on the world stage. Right, so you got World 3rd Lei Shen, World 3rd Garrosh, World 4th Margok Cho'Gall, World 6th Blackhand, World 3rd Archimonde, but they were almost like all bronze medals or like almost there. So this push that you guys just made to get World 1st, it's been kind of like brewing for 2 expansions. So what did you do to change? Was there a mentality shift, or how did you refocus the guild to like go just super crazy hardcore on this expansion to finally get that that big W, that big world first?
Well, we've cleaned up a lot of our roster. At the start of the Draenor, we got like 40 raiders. Now we got around 25 raiders, so it's almost half of them, yeah. And we just thought it is going to be not the quantity, but quality. That's why we forced everyone to do everything. So we make sure we don't want to waste additional time on the bosses, even on a heroic week, and focus on, make sure everyone is able to play as many classes as possible, and to make sure they're just not playing except only a rogue or only a prot warrior or only some kind of other class, to make sure they're all versatile as they could be. And well, it worked for sure.
That was a good change for us, because really when I joined the guild, for example, if we compared the Legion preparations and World of Draenor, because as I can remember, when I joined the guild, we had, for example, 40 or maybe 50 raiders. Can't remember exactly. And each of them, they have played one, maximum two classes. And for the start of the World of Draenors, we were required to have 4 characters, including our main. And the rule was that everyone, the best way for the guild and for was to have the mirror characters. So the same class, the same spec, all 4 characters, for example, they are all the same. Because Alveona was sure that you could play by this class good. So you're going to play by that, and I'm not letting you to play, for example, by something other that I never seen you how you played it. Yeah. So this is a good change that right now we can play different classes. It's really, I don't know, really comfortable, because we can see the game from the other sides. We can understand which class on the test exactly, which class is better on this encounter or there on this situation. We need some bursts here, so we need to respect some guys to these classes. So this gives really open to us new opportunities. So this is really good changes that right now we have less raiders and more classes to each member.
Yeah, I've always wondered about how the inner workings of that structure for the top guilds work. And that seems like the trend now is that you have a very, very smaller core, a couple on list, because not everyone can always be around for every single raid night, of course, depending on how the structure of that works. But then everyone just plays, like if you're a melee class, like I'm sure Nurse, do you have multiple melee classes? You don't only have the rogue now, right? You have a couple other ones you could switch to.
Yes, exactly. I have DK Unholy, I have Red as my usual main. I've started to play this game as Paladin. Enhancement Shaman. I know you're playing by Shaman, so high five.
Yeah.
And I forget someone. Demon Hunter. In Draenor, I used to play by range classes sometimes. I really enjoyed Mage, but for the high progression, I prefer melee. I feel myself really more confident when I play in melee zone.
And then, Al, for you, do you have like all the different tanks as well, or you just have like 4 or 5 different prot warriors?
No, I got 6 characters, and they all are just different tanks. So I got all the tank specs. So yeah, just to make sure I'm going to be able to fulfill any role if it's going to be needed.
Right, but the cracks you guys were finding and these little strats you were developing during beta, when did you realize that you were going to go with the prot warriors? Because you guys used like double prot warriors the whole way through, right? And then of course you used 3 on Cenarius. So was there something during beta like you found all these little things? Like, oh, we're gonna use these classes for this one, and you realized that like the prot warriors were going to be like the main tank for you guys? What did you find out? Like, where did you find all these cracks in Blizzard's balancing to enable your strategies that you developed like months ago? Like, you've been sitting on these for months now, right? So how'd that all come to be?
Well, we've been actually just carefully tracking on which classes for tanks going to be buffed or nerfed during the beta, and when the live server is going to be up. We just realized that the best ones at this moment are, I think, druids, warriors, and we've been thinking about I think Paladins too. However, just after some time, we realized that no major hotfixes are coming, and just thought that for the first year, Warriors are the best chance to be the overpowered class. So we just realized that going with 2 Prot Warriors is the best choice for us, and well, it paid well for sure.
No, and it worked.
Yeah, right. No, it
Even
definitely
after
did.
some slight nerfs, they got slight nerfs after the first week. However, they didn't really change anything for the Warriors because majority of the rage was coming from damage taken, and they just nerfed the Shield Slam rage generation, I think, and it didn't really change anything.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, and then I guess in the same vein, did you already have like a roster of like DPS and healers picked out too based on beta testing, or did things change in the 3 weeks of gearing up? Because I think in this realm, we've heard all these horror stories in a way that like all these top guilds are running, you know, every healer has 4 of the same healer, and whenever one gets like a legendary, that's their main now. But did you already have like a set roster if we're going to run these healers and these DPS, or did that sort of come after the whole Mythic Plus spam with the launch of the game?
Well, about class choosing, everyone knows about his main. Maybe not everyone, but I think more than 90% of our guild knew that which class they're gonna play as main. Alts, this is the second point about that, but this wasn't the not main thing about this. So this thing we discussed through last 2 or 3 weeks before Legion starts. We decided which alts we're going to use or something like that. About mains, I said that we knew which classes we're going to play, and about legendaries, as you said. No, because you're forgetting about really maybe the main thing. It's about artifact power that we gain to this character. So imagine this, that you gaining artifact power for your main character. You got lots of traits already done at your spec, and suddenly you're looting the legendary for your, I don't know, 3rd, 4th, or maybe 5th alt. We've got this situation, but we will just come down with that, and okay, we have a legendary in else. Okay, so we're not going to switch mains only because they got legendary. So this is the point.
I'm gonna add that we actually got like 2 mains because I've been telling everyone so they should focus on 2 characters at least to make sure if your spec is nerfed to the ground, you can switch. So we're actually able to do something. And I can tell a bit of a fun story because our Warlock been told 1 week before the progression that he's gonna be a Shadow Priest. He re-rolled, and when we saw those balance patch before the Mythic week, we tell him, scrap all of this, we're gonna roll you back to Warlock. He rolled back, and 1 day before the progression, he rolled back to Shadow Priest when they returned everything to a normal state. So he's been re-rolled like 3 times in 1 week. But that's the only guy who got such kind of an issue in our guild, so that's not some kind of a majority.
Oof. I can't... Because Nurse brings up the whole artifact power grind and how important it is to get as many traits before the race started, and just to get as powerful as you personally could on this one character. I can't imagine bouncing back and forth because, and having even as many characters as you guys have been bouncing, obviously it's a huge time commitment. So that's wild. And then I brought up scenarios a little bit there, but because I think that's like the big like hot topic out there right now that many people out there have seen the kill video. They've heard about how scenarios was like the real deal in Emerald Nightmare. Did your strat to like tank the dragons and 3 tank it and have an extra healer and then just DPS through thorns, was that something that you guys made back in beta testing, or did that actually evolve when you actually got on live?
No, we actually just came to this boss and realized that it could be working, just checked it 1 or 2 pulls and realized that it's going to be the main strat we're going to be sticking to. Actually, we're not sure it's going to be working because we didn't know how the last phase works. We haven't reached the last phase on beta for the Mythic encounter, so we didn't know how this actually works. So we just risked and it worked. I would say this was really, we've been shocked by the fact that the last phase is so easy. We've been thinking it's going to be really tough, and it wasn't. So the main part was just handling me because I've been tanking 4 dragons at the same time as a warrior, and it was really tough, I think. Yeah.
This is just an example of the making the good choice at the right time.
Right.
Yeah,
Because,
I
for
think that's the
example,
main part.
Yeah, this is the main part about this, because everyone, no, maybe not everyone, lots of guys that watching the world race, they knew that Blast Furnace is our best, lovely ever boss by us. So how much spend days on this boss? 10? More
Around
than
10
week,
days,
as
and we lost like 15 positions during this boss.
Yep. So this is the bad example how we can sometimes choose the bad strategy for the boss. So the scenarios is just against the bad. So we choose from the first pulls the strategy, and we just pulls through all the time, and we did it. So
Yeah, this is a bit of an old, it's like a light shot to when Blood Legion was raiding a lot more hardcore back in Missa Pandaria, and they had chosen it got leaked or it came out eventually through social media or the progress problems that they had chosen the wrong order of pillars for Heroic Lei Shen, and they kept getting down to like the 3rd pillar, which was like the big crux point, but it was like the wrong order. And then when Method sweeped in there with one different pillar order, world first, right? So like, it's always those moments where you have to make sure if you get the right choice, like you guys both said, then the fight it falls over for you. But if you make the wrong choice, then you guys get your blast furnace. I can't imagine. That was like a 2-week fight for me as well. Yeah, 2 resets, I want to say, working on just that damn fight. Ugh, that was terrible. And we, in my guild, we had other strats and different options from what, the top guilds have done. Finding the right one that worked for us because different people did different things, and yuck. Yuck. And then, so, Al, you brought up Shadow Priest a little bit with that one raider of yours that had switched back and forth. But did you...
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Shadow Priest and the whole Surrender to Madness nonsense? Did you actually stack them at all for any kills because of how much DPS they did, or did you not really play into the hype train for Surrender to Madness? How'd that work out for you guys?
Well, actually, we've been not stacking anyone because we didn't have any more class with more than 3 raiders for our roster. However, yeah, we got 3 Shadow Priests after all, 3 mages, 3 hunters, 2 hunters, sorry, 3 rogues. 3 rogues, yeah. So we've been not just simply class stacking, but yeah, sticking to the classes which looked better for us. I thought Method got 4 hunters, for example, but we didn't take such risk because, Blizzard tends to nerf to the ground something just before the progression. So just to hedge up some risks, we just didn't force anyone to play the same class to make sure we're not in a too bad spot at the start of the progression.
If you mentioned Method, they had 1 rogue, for example, and another risky decision, they had a Retribution Paladin on the progression. So they were nerfed to the ground before their hotfixes. How did they know? Guess? I don't know.
Yeah, and talking about Shadow Priest, I think the intention to make some kind of such special spells and, to have some classes to have different niche is okay. However, the Surrender to Madness was too good on Xevious for sure. And that's why we know that it's the best class to stack on Xevious, and it's obviously the last boss. So that was the aim. I didn't think they were too good on the other bosses. Well, probably to some kind extent on dragons, probably scenarios. But
and
yeah,
for our strategy for the Il'gynoth, because bursting in during one phase, Shadow Priest is too on it.
That whole
Blizzard,
that nonsense is dead now. Thanks for that, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. And but Blizzard
enjoy.
Blizzard already stated that they're gonna change how the Surrender to Madness works. I think it should be still rewarding, but probably not as good as it is right now, because is just too good for some situations. And Shadow Priest already, one of not many classes who got good execute phase burst and so on. So we'll see what they're gonna change in 7.1, I guess.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. It's a weird, and not to diminish the achievement already, but we talked about this in the pre-show setup meet and greet yesterday, but the Emerald Nightmare isn't like, it's like the starting point, right? It's not like the quote-unquote real race because of kind of the arbitrary nonsense of Mythic Plus farming and Legendary RNG, and it's only 7 bosses, and there's no tier gear, and all this other crap, right? So it's a weird place to be in right now, seeing how kind of tumultuous this one has been. Hopefully it won't be as crazy going into the next 2 raids coming out. So do you think you'll have any changes to your, like, how you'll attack the next stuff? Because you guys didn't get to, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a little more testing for the Trial of Valor coming out soon, but you already know so much about Nighthold. Has the changes they've made to the game right now and what we've talking about in 7.1, do you have any thoughts, like what you might switch around a bit in like the classes you might bring or the tanks you'll have? Do you know anything like going that way, Alv?
Well, we're not going to reveal all our secrets for sure. However, we've heard about some changes to add-ons. So because we've got a guy who is making Exorsus raid tools, we're prepared to make sure we can adjust to the changes and make sure we still can, invent some add-ons to help us. I didn't think that it's going to be the major part for our progress, but still it helps a lot when you've got some add-ons ready when you just reach the boss and so on. Talking about the strategies, yeah, of course, we've got some, mad tactics and something like that prepared for some bosses, but we'll see. Because as an example, a lot of strats are really coming just on live. And the reason is very simple. For example, we've got some mad strategy for the 3rd boss, but when we're coming to it, it's just 1 or 2 shot. So it's just scrap all the ideas because it's just too easy. And vice versa. For example, in Heart of Fear, everyone remembers the first boss? Yeah, it says hello to you. Because I think a lot of guilds wasted more than 1 week on it. So it really comes to a matter of tuning a lot of the times, because sometimes they're just over-tuning something and sometimes they are not. Hello, Emerald Nightmare. So we're going to see. But yeah, of course, we are prepared for both situations. And of course, we're going to be forced to make sure everyone knows what class is going to be better or worse on different encounters and going to adjust our roster if needed.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird... There's so much raiding to happen. And I would even say that like the raiding doesn't really stop in only the raids, just because of how profitable Mythic Pluses are for raiding guilds. I mean, I just went up 2 eye levels yesterday doing Mythic Pluses because of the Titan Forge system. Like you get so much more raid gear if you're lucky outside of raids. And so it never really stops, right? This snowball to keep going. I mean, you guys were just doing Mythic Pluses last night. So
yeah,
like it never really ends with Legion right now. But that's good, right? Do you like that more?
It's good for usual players, for casual players, because Blizzard made the system to give this 5 people content stay alive for a bit while. Because if we compare, for example, 5 people, even with Warlords of Draenor, it dies after the first raid. So they made this system so you can farm these dungeons for example, 1 year. So you will go each evening to these dungeons. You will trying to grab some loot, better, for example, than from raid, something like that. But they didn't realize that some hardcore guilds like we will spam this Mythic Pluses during 16 hours per day before the raid starts. That makes us, our guild, a bit stronger if we compare it with other guilds on the eye level. Because it really gives us lots of loot. It's taking up the chance for the legendaries. Because our guild wasn't so lucky with legendaries until the Mythic Pluses starts. So I can't remember, during 2 or 3 days, each character each main character or in our guild received a legendary finally. One or someone could be lucky, they could even loot it on their alts, or maybe, for example, 2 beast legendaries, our rogue. I hate you. You looted 2 beast legendaries in the first week before the raid. So really it's system, I don't know. It, as I said, it looks good for the casual players, really hard for the hardcore players, because you are really independent with luck. You depend on it. So
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be noted that I think the casual players are the majority of the game, and the hardcore players is just like 1%. So no one cares about us. It's okay. We're fine with it. And talking about the Mythic Plus system, the only thing that I really hate is the fact that, for example, all the trinkets from the raids are now totally garbage, and you shouldn't use them. You shouldn't use them at any cost. It's just terrible. And I think it's almost every trinket. So you're just forced to do the 5-man content, which is, well, not something I'd expect the system to be. And I hope Blizzard gonna fix it somehow, for example, to make sure, well, either to tune up all the raid trinkets or to nerf the 5-man dungeons ones.
Yeah,
however, the best choice is gonna be the buff raid trinkets, because they are just terrible. You can get the passive stat one from World Quest, and it's still way better. It's still way better than the raid ones. So it's just some kind of the problem on the Blizzard side, and I hope they're gonna fix it soon, because otherwise there's just no reason to get a lot of gear. And one more thing about the gear itself, that the raid got some kind of limited stats on it, because it's mostly haste plus mastery. And if you're using another stats, you're just forced to do the 5-man content to make sure you're reaching the next raid dungeon with the best in slot gear, which is a terrible thing too. But however, this problem, I'm not quite sure they're going to be able to fix it somehow, because it's just too much of a change to make sure it's going to work.
It's a weird give and take right now, because I mean, you bring up the dungeon like trinkets as a BIS, but like for Enhancement Shaman, and I'm sure Nurse knows this too, our BIS, depending on Titanforge level, is a freaking world drop BOE, the 6-feathered fan right now. And because the world scaling eye level Titanforge system will always keep going, it could be BIS the entire expansion. But like it's neat, but then also really punishing, because you might never really get a high level one. So, and yeah, a lot of the raid trinkets right now in Emerald Nightmare aren't fantastic. And like the Chrono Shard, for example, or Withered Jim last week, the stat stick trinket he dropped, if you got lucky enough to get that thing, that's BIS for so long on so many characters. So it's like exciting from like a meta standpoint that you get so much loot opportunity from here and there and over there. But then if you just don't get it, and you're pushing so hard for like world progression, then you just don't get these huge upgrades. You have to just deal with, meh loot from the raids. So that's my next topic right here, right? The nightmarish details. I wanted to go into the elephant in the room, which you kind of already have poked a little bit right now, where legendaries and Mythic Plus dungeons are like, they're good and bad. So how many legendaries did Exorsus have last week when you cleared Xavius? Because everyone wants to know, what's the number? Did their legendaries carry them? Ugh. So, I mean, Alv, how many did you have on the 20-man that killed?
Well, yeah, we have 20 legendaries on 20 people. And I think, you should start saying, hey, Exorsus are cheaters, as all the Russians, hey, stop this, and so on. However, I could assure you that every top guild got legendary on every character. And for example, some of them are so bad that you can't even use it over some kind of good Titanforged item from Mythic Plus, because, some of them are just giving some really small buff or even none at all. So, for example, both of our DKs got some really weird legendaries instead of the bracers.
Yeah, not the braces.
Yeah, and the braces were getting
really
like
OP.
15% of DPS for them.
Yeah,
and they've been just getting some weird things for anti-magic shield and so on. So I would say every top guild got around the whole roster with legendaries. Probably to some extent, 1 or 2 persons may be missing it, but it's not much of a deal. So after all, yeah, legendary system brought some random to the first tier. However, I don't think it's something that really brought up changes to the race positions and so on.
Yeah, some guy from the chat, he said that its component is which legendaries you got. Because some of us got this ring Sifu, so maybe neck Predas, that give you some defensive ability or something like that, that gain you some DPS only from its high level, not more than that. And especially about legendaries again, I'm really often see the messages that you cheaters, you have legendaries. I'm playing so much as you guys. You have a lot of legendaries. I have 0. So, for example, before this stream starts, I was curious and I counted how much days I spent in game from the Legion start, and I counted it's 24 days in the game during this month.
Across all your characters, I assume, right? Yeah.
Yes, of course. Only on, it's concluding on the high level time and including the leveling from the 100. So you can imagine 24 days in game, and the most part of this time I was in Mythic Plus dungeons. And I'm just farming, greeding. Yes, legendary. Farming, greeding. Oh, the second legendary, finally. I'm out.
It's a weird system that they try to make loot exciting. And it in some regards makes it exciting. But for example, I know I shit talked the system and I was all about I'm probably gonna get the stupid bracers for my shaman. And of course, my first legendary was the stupid bracers that increased lava lash damage, which were a 0.6% increase. It's so bad.
Lava lash hype.
Yeah, lava lash hype. And it's just a weird disparity because if you're, I'm not sure that even you guys had so many on your guild during the kill. I actually wanted to bring up your eye level for the kill real quick because you can see, I'll bring this up on screen. You can see it's a little bit ridiculous that you have your eye level when you actually got your first kill of Xavius as a guild, your 20 man that actually defeated him. You were at 868.3. But then a week later, that's at 20 people, 868.3. That's pretty high. But a week later, you guys jumped to 872. As a guild, you guys gained 4 eye levels. And granted, the gear you get from Xavius helped, but 4 eye levels across 20 people is a lot. So I'm sure after the first week of kills and you farmed more Mythic Plus, you've probably gotten more or better legendaries to make sure everyone has a good one or hopefully a good one. It's a huge jump in eye level. It's just a little bit absurd. But I don't know. I mean, are you a fan of how the loot system feels though? Because you can keep pushing, progression never really stops, or is it almost too much for you guys, Alf? What do you think?
Well, it should be noted that the majority of items which comes as an upgrade for you from Mythic Plus is from the weekly chest, because it gives you almost beast items every time. Well, at least better than you have it right now, unless you got the same slot as your legendary is. Then you're a really unlucky one. However, yeah, I think the main part of this item level jump is both Mythic raid plus this weekly chest, not the Mythic Plus dungeons. I think if you're just farming full week of Mythic Plus dungeons, you can get 2 or 3 items with really high item level, not more, because it's not that often to get some kind of really high item level items. So yeah, it's more of a deal with Mythic raids plus the weekly dungeon chest. So if you're playing a bit more casual, it's just okay to play Mythic raid plus make 1 dungeon to +10 to make sure you got the chest and you're fine. So yeah, if you're trying to maximize your items, yeah, you can spam Mythic dungeons and so on, but it's not as effective as everything else, for sure. Even the heroic raid has more chances of getting to your guild some kind of best in slot loot compared to Mythic Plus dungeons. So I think in that part, Blizzard did a good job in some kind of balancing it. However, as I said, the fact that Mythic top high-end guilds are trying to, maximize at every way possible, they're forced to farm everything. But it's not easier for everyone else, so it's fine.
How many heroic clears did you guys do? How many heroic splits did you actually do on the first week for Nightmare?
5 raids.
5?
It was, yes.
Yeah, we performed 5 raids because we thought that all the other times is going to be better just to spam Mythic Pluses, and it's paid well, because if not, we're going to be sitting without legendaries for sure. And yeah, by the way, probably chat is interested that the best way, I think, this from my point of view, to get a legendary is just to spam Mythic Plus dungeons, because getting one from a bounty chest or something like that is so small that you probably won't get it anywhere near the future for sure. So yeah, just better to spam Mythic Plus dungeons until you have one. Just some info for you.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, they did just recently change, and they nerfed Mythic Plus so that you don't get as much artifact power for, like, boosting low-level chests just to get 2 and 3 chests on, like, all these ones. So they slowed down the artifact power gain. The damage has kind of already been done, though. I don't know. I mean, like, for example, how many, like, I just hit 26 traits yesterday, I want to say. And I've done a fair share, but I doubt I've done as many of you guys. I mean, Nurse, how many traits do you have on your rogue?
On the main spec, on Outlaw, I have 27, and both specs, Supplity and Assassination, they both got 2 major traits, so one of them is 90 and one of them is 20. But right now, artifact power gain is not the main thing that you should do right now, because according to the artifact knowledge growing, until the Nighthold release, it's gonna be the highest level. And as our add-on maker says, during one day of the world quests on artifact power, after the 2nd January, will gives you something around 1 million of artifact power. So right now, if you're going to farming the artifact power, this is a waste of time. Just go and do some resources for your alts if you want to wear 2 legendaries on your 2nd character or something like that.
Or some real life stuff, for example.
Or no, some forget real about life stuff.
Real life.
That works too.
Real life.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Or if you got something to do,
right?
It's just Mythic Pluses. Just Mythic Pluses spam.
Yeah.
Gearing up. Do not go out. Street is bad. Home is safe.
Yeah, right, the real life, just Mythic Plus.
This from the guy that has 24 days logged in 7 weeks of the game in total. Yeah, hell yeah. I getcha. Well, yeah, it's a good, I mean, obviously, artifact knowledge and artifact power is going to scale wicked quick. But I guess what's funny, right before Heroic opened, when Mythic Plus was going to open, right, when the dungeons were going to open, Watcher, Ian Hazakostas, posted that the eye levels for the first week of Mythic Plus would be capped at 850. And I immediately sent a tweet back, but are you not letting it Titan Forge? Which, of course, never got a reply, and, of course, it Titan Forges. So you still got to get up to 865 gear. You could be wearing heroic gear to go into the heroic raid, and because, as Alv brought up too, you get to complete a 10, make sure your whole guild, your whole raid teams get a 10 completed, and then Tuesday comes around on reset day, or Wednesday for you guys, you get an 880 piece in your chest. So you get to wear at least a piece of Mythic gear before you even go into Mythic. Which, if they were going to cap the gear at 850 and not have a Titan Forge, that would have changed a little bit of the race timing, because your eye level would have been a little lower. Do you think that would have actually helped give it a little bit more, like, I don't, man, because I guess 17 hours from when it opened for you guys, you were done. And
yeah, I think if we were gonna lock the dungeons till 50 item level is going to help us a lot, because we wasted a lot of time on Mythic Pluses. And if those change will going to be affect the part with the Titanforge gear and so on, it's going to help a lot, because we just didn't need to do any Mythics at all. Well, mostly didn't need to do. Probably some to fill the slots which are not so high item level. However, you can craft those slots, so it's okay.
True.
Anyway. So yeah, I think at first I thought there's going to be the change, so you don't need to spam them at all. However, when we realized that they're still giving you Warforged and Titanforged gear, we're just forced to do them.
Yep. When I saw that post, I was like, all right, cool. So you can spam Mythic Plus right now for 850s to try to get, like, the best in slot 850s. You can go into the raid and artifact power, but then you could still get 865s. So yeah, of course you had to do them. Like, they almost got there to keep it at a level playing field, which is, we can go back to what I said a little while ago about how, are you looking more forward to the world first race now in the Nighthold? Because, like, everyone can equip 2 legendaries, everyone will have all this time to get 34 traits, everyone will have all this time to get, like, BIS loot from what's available to you now. It'll be a little more of an even playing field, because 880 right now is that's the gear cap. At least what's normally attainable. 895 is the highest end. But do you feel like that's going to be a better race because everyone will be more on an even footing, less RNG involved? Like, what do you think about the Nighthold race?
Well, I don't think that it's the main problem with Emerald Nightmare and so on. The random part was not that good. However, it doesn't affect the race at all, I think.
Right.
And I think same gonna be for the Nighthold one. So unless they're gonna drastically change something, I think it all comes to the fact which guild get the better strats, better roster, and just plays better. So after all, I don't think that it's going to affect the race somehow, even 2 legendaries and so on. Yeah, of course, some legendaries are really potent. However, even comboing them shouldn't be doing some kind of crazy job for the dungeon. So the only real reason we should be afraid of if the tuning is again scrapped for both sides, because if some kind of the boss is really overtuned, it comes down to a second problem when everyone comes till this boss, and when it just scraps the part where some kind of guild got an advantage because they just got to this boss faster, and it's just a roadblock for them. And if such bosses will not persist in Nighthold, then race should be fine. Because I really hate when you come to some kind of boss and it's either just simply too bugged or just simply too hard. So you just need to farm the gear, say hello to Spine of Deathwing or something like that. So yeah, I think the ideal progression for a Mythic guild, top end guild, is around from 7 to I think 12 days, not more than that. If any of the top guild can't finish the content in 12 days, that means that Blizzard took a wrong turn on fixing the bosses and so on, because, well, no one can just take off for more than 12 or 2 weeks for sure. So it's just, bad opportunity for the race, because just who can take the 3 weeks take off, he wins. So yeah, I think the 7 to 12 days is the optimal way for the Mythic race, something like that.
It's interesting you bring that up, because I always said that at least a reset should be involved. Like, 1 reset should be involved. Obviously not 17 hours after it opens for the EU realms. I mean, it's the fastest an N-tier boss of any raid has ever died ever, if you exclude the Wrath of the Lich King launch, where all 3 raids were cleared. Sarth, Malagos, and Nex 40 to Nex 25 were all cleared within, like, the first 2 days. But that's... The beginning of Wrath was, like, super nostalgia, and we didn't have Mythics back then. But, so yeah, so you would agree then that the balancing obviously wasn't...
enough.
Yeah.
Just wasn't enough, because as I said, they didn't plan that we're going to spend too much time in the, for example, Mythic Pluses. I don't know, was that the part of the plan that this Mythic Pluses from the first... raid week gonna share with us its Titan Forge loot. So, for example, if it will be capped as 850, and that's all no Titan Forged on the first week, I think it will be more balanced. So, but they didn't. So we had a possibility to loot 895, and of course it makes some disbalance. And of course, when we enter the raid, our plan is, for example, from Hellfire Citadel. We are going from the Mythic raid begins. When it begins, we are going to the Mythic raid. We clearing all bosses that we can, and if we find some boss where we can see, no, it's a dead end, we need more gear or something like that, we are going to the split raids to stack up the loot. Here we just made the same stuff, and we saw that this gear is more than enough to kill every stuff in this raid. So I don't know. Possibly it's a mistake from Blizzard's side, but I don't know. Maybe they planned, so not sure.
Well, the main oversight part, I think, was that beta testing where they scaled everyone, for example, to 870 item level, where even your weapon is scaled to 870 item level. And if you're looking at the live realms, our weapons are way higher than every other slot because of the relics. And I think that's the main oversight, because Emerald Nightmare, after all, ended up so easy. Because I think you can have like 860 item level and your weapon could be 880. So 20 item levels higher than every other slot. So that's the main problem. Well, from my point of view, of course.
No, it definitely is. I think a couple of the out-of-level skews, because they were balancing based off of... They did a ton of raid testing in beta, and it was so much that it was hard to keep up with sometimes, because you have your normal testing you wanted to do, and then you've got like 2 or 3 days in a row of raid testing. And normally the hours are always, it's always for PST time, because that's where the actual office is. And then it's usually even bad for people that are at work or trying to get home from work, or EU folks where it's super late at night or super early in the morning, which is great. They did a lot of testing. But yeah, eye levels, because they can only squish so much or boost so much. And then you get on live, and the eye level disparities that it lets you achieve were higher than intended. Then that would be why. And then, of course, there are things that, like, Xavius doesn't do anything different in Mythic. He has like one different debuff. And then in phase 2 and 3, you just stack onto the boss. Like, you don't even do anything different. You just stack onto the boss, just zerg him and kill the tentacles and watch your corruption. Like, there's nothing different. And then Il'gynoth, which has now been changed, but in the race, you could one-phase it, and then Pets didn't get teleported out of the brain room, so you could get him down to like 10%, and then Pets could kill him. You just like survive outside for a little while. Like, it's these little slip-ups that sometimes just rear their ugly heads, and then you're just like, well, the raid race is over.
Yeah, indeed.
So, I mean, were the bosses fun, though? I mean, was it a good change of pace from... I mean, we were in Hellfire Citadel for a year. Ugh.
Well, I can say that overall bosses were okay, and if we're talking about tuning, if they're gonna tune them a bit harder, for example, Ursak 1 and so on, it could take a bit longer, and if it lasts at like 3 days, it's gonna be more than fine. However, yeah, 1 day is a bit, well, smaller than expected. However, I think we're the only one who wasted only 1 day on it, so... After all, I think it comes down to the fact that Xavius was too easy. All of the other boss got the curve of how hard the boss is pretty well. So apart from that, I think the tuning was okay. And talking about the last boss and tuning, say hello to Gul'dan, who's not going to be tested at all, even on normal, heroic, and so. So just get ready for the new Radan boss, which I can...
I think we can
tell for some guys who probably don't know about it that Radan first kill was made by totally unintentional strategy because Blizzard just did an oversight on their part, and I think the part that they just don't want to test something. Well, it could be okay, but if they do so, they just need to somehow to hire some kind of good internal team like Exorsus. Hey, Blizzard. No, or something like
Need a
that.
job.
Nice.
Need a job.
Yeah,
Nice,
looking for a
nice.
job. Hey guys. So just to make sure that those guys not only testing the tuning of the boss, but looking for some potential exploits and so on to make sure they won't be a thing on live servers. Because right now, the first week of the raids, like Heroic and so on, is just like, another 1 week of the beta tests when they just, looking and saying, this thing is definitely on internet, we should nerf it ASAP, and so on.
Right. No, it was. I mean, they've made pretty drastic changes. I mean, Ellerith, the Spider Rock, she had LFR HP, so they immediately gave her 500 million more HP, and they hotfixed her Gathering Storms wins. You can't leave the platform early. You have to actually soak it closer to her, because the further already away, the more damage you take. So you couldn't scumbag strat it on one platform. They buffed her so she couldn't walk over the web, because then she gains the extra damage, because people were actually moving her to the second platform early and just one-phasing her right there. Like, all these little things, the Il'gynoth, one-phase, pet problem, the only boss fight, which I'll highlight again, was Cenarius. Like, that was probably the best tuned boss fight for you guys, do you think? After everything else was probably Cenarius, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
But I think Il'gynoth with some slight buff could be a really fun boss too.
Right.
And to be honest, we've almost done it with 2 hearts phases. However, we just thought, hey, and what if we're just gonna play in Zergit? Okay, let's try. And we got and we just two-shotted it. It just took us 2 pulls to make sure it worked.
And the thing is that our Holy Paladin said it. Oh, we can kill it. I can damage it instead of healing, and
Yeah,
that's all. And we get it.
exactly.
So plus, this was the most emotional kill, because in my experience, it was the first boss that was the world first by Exorsus. So I don't know. I shouted like mad.
It's definitely. I opened the show with it in the preamble that you guys have been really close all these times for 2 solid expansions. And then it was funny. I think, like, in some weird way, it was like a karma switch, because when we were doing Heroics, I'm streaming and doing my thing with my chat room and whatnot. We're talking about, who do you think is going to win the world first race? And I'm like, you know what? Not to be rude, but I hope it's not Method again, because they've already won twice in a row. Like, I already have shirts made for them. I already have, like, engraved that into this little corner of the internet that we've cut out over here. And then, I'm just looking for someone new. And then chat room, of course, goes like, so the Russians are going to win. You got to learn Russian to interview them? And I was like, shit, I hope not.
Well, you're lucky we know some English.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's absolutely, I'm lucky for that. So, no, it was pretty funny, though. So, and then, of course, the day that it opens, I go to bed, wake up the next morning on my Thursday, and you guys cleared. I was like, oh, well, all right, I guess I'm interviewing the Russians then. It was totally awesome. I think it's a neat shake-up. Do you think that, I mean, there was the hubbub with Method and Serenity and all this hype about that side of things, and it was going to be Method or Serenity or Method, and then you guys just fly right past them. So how do you... what kind of message do you think that says? It's exciting because, like, Easy's in there, and From Scratch is really close. Like, I almost think that there are more contenders for the top spot now. Do you feel like the competition is actually more challenging in Legion? Like, looking forward to the next raid race, do you feel like that's going to be a closer race? It's not just like Paragon Method, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's way more interesting. For sure, it's way more interesting when we have more contenders and so on. And I think, yeah, the progression in Nighthold going to be really interesting too. So I can't
right now we
really
have more responsibility because we have already got the world first. Right now. A lot of guys now waiting that we are gonna kick some asses, and so it's gonna be exciting, I suppose, an interesting race. We'll see.
Yeah, but of course we're gonna do our best.
Yeah, because now what happens, and this hopefully doesn't reverse damn you guys, is that you're so high in the limelight now, and you've put all this work into it, and then Now, of course, which the community is gonna do it, whatever. Because if you win again, it's gonna be like, oh, Exorsus is the best guild in the world. But if you get second place, like, oh, it was a fluke, they suck.
Oh,
you know?
losers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They
Yeah, I
cheated.
got some shit for you. Yeah.
Exactly. So like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right now, I just like it from my point of view, and what I do here on the show, what I've been doing now since MOP, is that I like to see how, like, what strategies evolve and what these guilds employ and what they go through to get there. It's a neat. It's stressful, even from my point of view, to seeing how you guys work with this. I wonder. Oh, one of my. I hope they tie with method. Wow. Like, what if the world first kills were like within the same hour? Man, I mean, obviously there's timestamps, but because you guys beat it by a long shot, like there was a gap, right? So it was like a day. I want to say it was like a day. How long before the second kill? I don't even. So the 29.
Well, we should check the wolf progress, I think.
Yeah.
But
because it was definitely like there was some time, because that's when like a world first kill feels really good, is when you get the world first kill and then no one gets it for like multiple days. If even a reset happens, then you're like, oh, you know, they beat the crap out of that boss before anyone else did. So I wonder how the next raid races are going to feel. That's going to be interesting.
oh yeah, this time it took 14 hours. Oh yeah, they just been sleeping sometime. Plus they do, I think, 2 or 3 split runs at the start.
Right.
I don't think it's really affected the race that much,
Right.
and they still weren't able to reach us, I think, this content. Although we're gonna see the next one, because I think, yeah, method and serenity is more than important, and of course from scratch too, they're more than important to get a world first too. So yeah, it's only comes to which guild's gonna prepare better and so on. So yeah, good luck to them too for sure.
Right. Well, I guess we'll wrap this little section up here before I do a little in-show commercial break and yammer about some stuff. But I just saw a question come up in chat, which the real measurement of time is how much vodka did you consume between your kill and the next kill. That's the most important statistic. Did you measure?
How much did you?
Well, I'm not actually drinking vodka at all. Yeah, I'm just some kind of, fake Russian, I think, or something like that. I don't even have my own beer, so I'm just really a strange Russian from, I think, some kind of point of view. But yeah, talking about the fact that we've been really happy, though we still haven't gathered it all up in the real life to celebrate this thing. I think we're going to do this in 2 or 3 weeks or so on. Yeah, I'm going to send you some screenshots from, not the screenshot photos,
Okay.
yeah, but screenshots still.
Okay, that's fair. You're gonna make it up. Well, I mean, I'm gonna plug this during the actual little break, but I'll just move it forward here. I brought this up a little bit before. I make these shirts, these world first shirts, right? For the last, I've done the last 2, and there will be another shirt that is being made. Like we have the 2 method shirts here on my apparel store. #sellout, #buy my shirts. So we've made these 2 shirts, right, for the World First, Hell First, Citadel, World First, Blackhand. But because they killed it so fast, my artist has other work to do and couldn't get to the shirt immediately. But there is an Exorsus World First shirt that's being worked on. And Alv, don't worry, we might put a bear in there for you to be wrestling just to make sure. Yeah, see, there you go. But yeah, we'll get that figured out for you. And of course, when it goes live, I'll be posting it on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. So if you wanted to get those to support the raid race and have those to wear to BlizzCons or whatever, that'd be a lot of fun. But there is a shirt coming for Exorsus, which is, it's good for me too, because again, I didn't want another method shirt, which is not being rude, but I wanted my artist to not draw Scott again, be a little something different, a little more challenge, a little something different. So, and they got their 2 shirts, all right? You guys get your, yeah.
Now you have us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we gotta make it very, we gotta play on so many stereotypes. We gotta have, there's gotta be vodka, there's gotta be bears. Man, what else we have to make sure it's in the shirt? What else is really good to have that you guys want? What else is a good little stereotype that we need to play off in the cartoon side?
Nuclear red button, I think.
Oh no! Okay, yeah, that would work. That could work. I'll bring all this
Kremlin probably, or some kind of star, red star.
We could, yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, because I'm actually meeting about it tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I just saw in chat Matryoshka for sure. Without Matryoshka, it's not working.
Oh, what is that?
What is Matryoshka? It's a national, I don't know, toy. Russian.
Yeah, I can try to Google it fast to make sure you can see it.
Okay.
One moment. The fun fact is there is just one toy and in another toy and so on. Yeah, one moment, linking to you in Skype.
Okay, I need to see this. This is live for. I need to know what this is. What is this?
Okay, I've just linked it. Gonna try to link it in chat. Probably I'll get banned for it.
No, you're fine. Oh, it did push you out. It's the Russian nesting dolls is what they're called in English.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Russian it's called Matryoshka, so no idea how it's called and pronounced in English.
Yeah, there's the Russian. We call them the Russian stacking dolls or whatever. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, that would work. Yeah. Okay. To put it up on screen so the YouTube audience doesn't freak out. It's these. Oh, the region's broken a little bit, but the stacking dolls. Yeah. That could be a thing. That'll be fun. But yeah, just that'll come out soon. But before we go on a little mid-break and I babble about some stuff, there was one other question I had. Where did it go? Oh yeah, back in last expansion, this goes off on the whole gear thing. Do you think it's? I mean, the black market auction house shenanigans that happened last expansion with like buying gear on multiple servers and server transferring to buy gear before you went in and that kind of nonsense. Was that a more egregious problem? That was more of a problem, right? Than actually having to like do Mythic Dungeon farm and like actually be responsible for your own destiny, I suppose. So I wanted to make sure people were bringing that up too. It's like, oh, it's the BMAH nonsense all over again with the raid race because you can wear so higher gear. But is it better, at least from your perspective, because you're responsible for this now, not just gold?
Yeah, for sure, it's better than black market. I think the black market was the worst thing I saw in World of Warcraft for a lot of time. Well, except for split rates, they're the most worst part of the yeah, that's just terrible thing. Just
the thing that we get used to do, and that's all.
Yeah, I'm still hoping they're gonna implement the personal loot only thing because it's not that bad. I think the people are just getting used to it right now because of the 5-man dungeons, and I think it should come to a raid part too because it's just no reason to not to do this because it's gonna simplify everything, including hey raid leader, you didn't give me this item and I really need this and so on. And for the pickup groups, it's gonna be way easier to distribute loot too because all master loot raids are some kind of a problem. I think it's partially fixed because right now you can only use master loot if 80% or more of the group from the one guild.
Right.
But anyway, I think you just need to get rid of the master loot system at all. It's just not needed anymore at all.
Yeah, it's a weird back and forth that what is better. But you see how they slowly change things. So I wonder, because I thought their way of trying to like quote unquote squelch and remove split raids from like our little ecosystem here was Mythic Plus runs, but all I did was just add more for you to do. They didn't remove heroic split runs. I've done 4, so
yeah. So we need to compose it,
right?
Yeah, now we need to do both split runs plus Mythic Pluses. Yeah, great
Thank you,
fix to the system, guys.
Oh,
appreciate it.
Yeah, it's rough, but all right, we have more to talk about in a moment. I'm going to let these guys have a little walk around break if they need to, or take a break. It's a little mid-show commercial break, if you will. And again, I'm going to open this up real quick with talking about how the stream today and a lot of my videos right now have been sponsored by Discord. So Discord is like the way. People always ask me, like, do you know about stat priorities here? Or do you know about gearing for my class respec right now? And out of the top 15 Discord servers, last they were checked, 11 of them are World of Warcraft oriented. So if you don't know about Discord, and you haven't downloaded it for Windows or opened it, it's also for like Linux and Mac as well, then the links right below the stream, or again, if you're watching on YouTube in the future, links in the video description box below. I have on my channel guide. You can join any and all of the Discord channels and keep up to date with your artifacts. I just went through here. I'll do this live. Bloop. Let's go over here. Hi, butts. This is my Discord server. They'll talk back to me in a minute. But if I go over here to the Earth Shrine and I go down to the enhancement section, and of course, there's so many messages that I haven't read in the past day. There's pinned messages at the top here, and Hikili just made this huge spreadsheet about all the different trinkets in the game. I'll pop that open real quick here to see what kind of information you get posted in these Discord channels. But these are like all the different trinkets for Enhancement Shaman. Just Enhancement. Like, it shows you all the different rankings based on eye level. They post these gigantic documents that we get all this information from. There's, of course, like gearing questions, content sharing, but there are Discord channels for every class and spec in the game. And, of course, for some other nerds that you want to tell you, who's this guy? But there's one for tanking as well, and just for healing, and then there's all the different class ones. There's freaking 2 for Demon Hunters, so if you need Demon Hunter information. But they've got their resource channels. They've got all these different guides and stuff that are posted. And, again, all the links are... There they are. Look, ma, no hands. Yeah. But all the Discord channels are really, really important, I think, for getting information out there now for the community, because not every class or spec has a website. And additionally, if you want to give me questions for upcoming shows, you can join my Discord as well. The general chat is open, subs and non-subs. This is how I do the Ask a Boss section now. So if you have questions for upcoming shows, and again, next week, there'll be a poll after this show to choose. You get to vote on Twitter what the next couple of specs are going to be. And then when I'm working on show notes, if you have questions for rogues or warlocks or mages or tanks or whatever the next show is, you ask me there. Good questions, I pull right out and drop into my show notes. So that's a better way for you to contact me to ask my guests how to do whatever. Because I don't always know all these nitty-gritty questions to ask. I did tons of beta testing. I did huge amounts during the beta. You can all see it on my channel guide as well. But that's a way you can immediately get information to me, get me questions, and then I can ask the guests as well. So that's for that. And then if you want to also support directly what I do here on the show and the live streams and all that kind of good stuff, I do have a Patreon page down below, which you can support and get access to. My Discord server is there as well. And then I post some different things on there. You also get access to the show notes get posted here as well. So you can actually see the show notes on Patreon and follow along, basically, right? So you can see what questions I'm about to ask. If there are developer interviews coming up as well, like, you can get access to all of them right there through Patreon. And of course, thank you to all the ones that are supporting me on Patreon. A extra special shout out to the assistant producers of the show and everything I do here: Aergwyn, Trofles, DeathscythePally, and Ludovicus. Thank you all very much for your generous support every single month to keep me doing what I'm doing here. It's really appreciated. So, let's ask some more questions. You guys ready to talk about WoW again?
Why not?
Why not?
I'm too.
Okay, so if chat has questions right now for the next, 20 minutes or so, if we see a good question, you guys can always derail me and we can answer the question from chat. But I had some as well. You brought up Exorsus raid tools earlier, which is your add-on that I've been using for forever. I track all my raid buffs in there. I track Legendary Rings last expansion with it. It's fantastic for that, to show extra information on the screen. But you guys use this and make boss mods that your whole guild uses, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
of course.
But in 7.1, they're removing a lot of range functionalities. Do you have thoughts on how it's going to affect the raid race? I didn't bring this up earlier because I wanted to make sure I plug it here. That you're not going to have weak auras or add-ons that tell you how to move and what to do the same way. A lot of the functionality you have in Exorsus will still work, obviously, but there'll be no more Rot Chaos weak aura. That's dead, right? In 7.1. Do you think that's going to help the raid race? Because you have to be a little more skillful now. There's nothing that's going to hold your hand.
Well, actually, I think it's going to be the same because everyone is in the same situation. And talking about the Rot Chaos era or on the Archimond, I think we got it 1 or 2 days before the kill. So that was some kind of the thing we just came up probably too late. So after all, I think, well, it's not a good or a bad change. It's just some type of a change that probably just incentivized because of the quantity of the players who thought that's hey, top guilds are killing everything because of an add-ons and so on. But actually, it's not that true. So I wouldn't say that it's.
Okay, excuse
well,
me.
it just simplifies it a bit,
Sure.
probably. But yeah, mostly it helps some kind of a guild which just came to the boss and they got this add-on from the start, which is not the case for us most of the time. So yeah, I don't think that it's going to change drastically anything. Well, most likely at least.
Well, the add-ons is just some kind of adaptive process. So they making more difficult bosses, we making add-ons. They making them more difficult, we bring more add-ons. And right now they cut it off. So there's some kind of disbalance right now, because if they're gonna make boss much more difficult than when, for example, we have now, it could be a trouble in some ways. But in Nighthold, I can't remember any bosses that really need some big add-ons, something like that. They can make our life comfortable on these bosses, but they are not killing the bosses, so something like that.
Yeah, I bring up the Rot Chaos Weak Aura because that like changed the game, and on Mythic Grand Magistrix Elison, she has a similar mechanic. So it's going to be interesting to see how guilds actually do this without a giant arrow that says, stand here and don't hit everyone else, right? So it's going to be curious. I think it'll be better because you'll have less kill videos posted with some huge weak aura that tells you how to do everything, right? Which, I don't know. I think it's about time. You'll still have weak auras like I have that show you like if you have different debuffs or if you're like too close to the tank. So for his explosion, but yeah, we'll have to see. Here's a question. Windebur asks, would you talk about tanking balance and then bringing 3 prot warriors? Did the changes, I guess the recent changes, actually do anything to change? He said what you did, but I'm assuming what you're going to do. Are you still going to run prot warriors, I guess is the question. And what you think about tanking balance.
Yeah, I got a question. I would say so. Currently, I think the tank balance is way better than it was, 1 week before. So talking about some classes that are still in a bad spot, I would say probably Decay to some extent. And monks.
Demon Hunters.
Yeah. No, well, Demon Hunters are still pretty good for 5-man, so I think it's just some kind of their niche. Probably, and they are still fine for the raids too. Well, at the start, I just wanted to say that all tanks are viable for the raids. It's not something that you can't tank any boss with a DK or Demon Hunter or with a Monk. It's just a matter of the first kill thing when we're just maximizing everything. And yeah, of course, we're just using the tank, which is the optimal one. It doesn't mean you can't do this boss with another one. And for some kind of, semi-hardcore or even softcore guilds, it should be not an issue at all. So yeah, it's more comes to hardcore guilds. And for now, I think after the changes, well, most of the tanks looks balanced. Probably Monk just needs some kind of slight overall buff, probably to their armor or something like that. Yeah. And the DK should have some kind of, better magic mitigation probably because, their mastery is now working only on physical damage and it's still terrible. Yeah, I think they need to change mastery somehow for the DK and then it's going to be okay.
Well,
someone guy from chat told that Alveona don't like brewmasters. Can you prove it?
No, I don't think brewmasters are bad. They are really I think they got one of the best mechanics right now. They're really interesting and cool. However, their sustained damage taken is probably a bit higher than it should be. So if they're gonna change this part, I think they're gonna be more than fine. And as I said already, their mechanics are one of the best from all of the tanks because both druids and warriors are so boring. I can't even describe how bad it is. And for example, warrior is not even only boring, it's even just so uncomfortable to tank in 5 minutes because their AoE is so bad. You can thunderclap once in 6 seconds and you got revenge to take an aggro. So pulling 4 or 3 packs in a row is just terrible for prot warriors. So yeah.
I can confirm it. Alveona don't like to go to these 5 people without, for example, rogue or hunter that got some misdirection on trick or treat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's just uncomfortable at all.
Right. Well, yeah. Another thing about the prot warrior thing is that one of my mods brought up that stacking prot warriors now just won't work because inspiring presence doesn't stack anymore. So you won't get the extra leech on the raid. You only get 1 application of it. So that's definitely a change. Which bravo to you guys for these little things, that having that huge leech pool on your whole raid, and then Blizzard was like, oh damn it, like that should have never stacked anyway. Ugh. But yeah, how about classes and specs in raid? People have stacked top classes for many years now, even since vanilla. Was this something that was
bring the class, not player?
Stacking the best DPS classes, or did you guys just play with the players, not the class?
Yep.
So you brought the players, not because your kill screenshot didn't have like 4 shadow priests or like 6 hunters or anything like that, right? So do you think?
Well, so 3 is enough, but 4, oh my god, they suck in this class.
Right. I mean, it's no spine of Deathwing like 11 arcane mages, right? Like that's not a thing that's the thing of the past now. But do you think, and it's not me I'm not trying to like pigeonhole you into like agreeing with this because everyone's gonna freak out. But do you think now it's closer outside of Frost Mage right now? Sorry, Frost Mages, your damage is terrible. Do you think now bringing the player, not the class, is actually pretty viable? I hate that word. But do you think
for sure it is. For sure it is. And I think the main part is that currently top guilds are just trying to stack the classes that got some kind of best utility spells or just best immunity spells. Not other than that. Because talking about damage-wise, well, situation is more or less okay to some extent. Of course, some classes are still a bit worse than others. For example, I think, the mage part is a bit strange that only 1 spec is viable right now. Same goes for some other specs, and probably I'm just trying to think which class I should mention too. Well, I think survival hunters with their really small utility, because they just made a new spec and no one almost plays it. Right. I think that's just some strange part.
Just like Windwalker monks, nobody wants to play it. It got cool mechanics, but it's just useless for the raid. Got no uniques.
Well, you've got increased movement speed.
You do.
Oh my god,
which is working for
10% of the movement speed.
But they can have the legendary. The legendary gives it 15%. Oh!
Yes. It's going to be overpowered for sure. Oh, and by the way, I just want to mention that, for example, almost no one is playing Feral Druids. However, they are really cool right now. I mean, they got really potent single target damage. Yep. Probably even the top 1 single target damage. However, because of the fact that almost all fights got at least 2 or 3 targets, it's just not working at all. So some classes having some different niches is okay, but that's why some classes are still suffering.
Right.
Plus, they got no immunity or something like that. So
they got 2 shield walls.
It says, but not immunities. So, I'm comparing it with like Red Paladin's Bubble, or for example, or Cloak of Shadows of Rogues. It's uncomparable.
Right. It is. There wasn't any really weird like scumbaggy soak shenanigans yet. There's no Zul Harak mechanics in Emerald Nightmare, so I mean there probably will be some crap in the future raids. I'm sure. There you have rogues. Or, a paladin bubble, or there's a little bop shenanigans right now. You can definitely bop off the bleed on Ursoc, which is really important on some parts of the encounter to bop the other tank. But those have been in the game for forever. But yeah, hopefully we just never see any Black Hand nonsense with some like smash, soak, triple rogue, stack, fate BS again. Makes rogues mandatory for certain fights. Let me see what chat's talking about here. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but how did you feel the Emerald Nightmare was as a raid compared to the other pre-tier raids like Mogushan Vaults or Highmall? Do you think these pre-tier raids are good, and have they've gotten better over the course of the last 3 expansions?
Well, I think it's pretty similar. It's an entry-level raid, so nothing really to say except for the Xevious issue, because he was, well, definitely undertuned. Yeah.
Right.
Other than that, I think it's more than fine. And even if we're talking about some kind of overall item level, if it's going to be a bit lower, all of the bosses going to provide way more, resistance against the raid groups than they did actually on live. So
this raids, they are just like warming up. So that's it. That's their role.
Right.
Yeah, and by the way, I think it's almost bug-free, except for the fact that the scenarios portal one thing and some shenanigans with Ursak running on the roof.
Yeah, what is
those videos are hilarious.
We never actually reproduced it in our raid. However, where I saw this video, it was really hilarious when it's just running on the roof and then back and forth and so on.
And then you can also get Ursak to like charge a wall and it breaks his targeting, so he never charges again, and you just tank him like you do in normal. In Mythic, though, that's I outside of the balancing. But that's interesting. You guys said there's no bugs. I'm only on Il'gynoth starting tomorrow, so I've only seen the first 4, and they've been fine, and nothing really like awkwardly happened. I'm not sure the portal placement for Warlock Portal on Ellerith from the middle platform to the second platform is intentional. Maybe it is intentional.
Well, it's just a clever use of game mechanics. Just a clever use of game mechanics. It's been like this on a lot of the bosses,
right?
With the warlocks and some other classes, so I don't see any issues with it.
Remember Lei Shen and their portal?
Some
guilds using warlock portals on manner of.
Unless you're a Chinese guild which is exploiting all the smashes on the last phase of the Black Hand, it's okay.
Right. Oof.
There is some interesting question was from your subscriber about healing, because right now we have Alveona. He's some kind of tank player. I'm a damage dealer player. Right. So to tell you something about healing, maybe Alveona can deal with that. So the question is, can they talk about healing balance and now how the change in Pally and had an effect on their healing corpse?
Yeah, your English is perfect. I almost understood everything.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I was surprised. That's crazy.
Talking about healing balance in general, I think it's way better than tanking balance. However, I still think that Mistweaver monks are lacking some utility. For example, I think that should be changed a bit. So, after all, I think, probably Shaman's a bit better than everyone else, but not by a high degree, so it's okay. And rest of druids are just dominating 5-man, but as I said, it's just hard to balance every spec and every class for every encounter. Oh, by the way, I remember one thing which is a real problem. Probably some guy from Blizzard hears this. I think holy priests need some kind of, save for themselves, because they just can't use anything to make sure they don't die from some kind of AoE and so on. They need some kind of raid save for themselves, or just, I don't know, cooldown or something like that. That should help them.
They have no DR, is what you're saying. They have no damage reduction for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. They have no little personal shield wall. Yeah, there's a couple of classes like that. Like Monk they can expel harm on magic, and then they can talent dampen harm on huge attacks, but those are like only autos and like melee special, so it wouldn't work on like raid damage. So you brought up Mistweaver Monk. Do you think Blizzard is saying their quote unquote utility is that they're still sort of like a melee DPS healer hybrid? Because a Windwalker, a Mistweaver can still kind of get in there and do damage, and their freaking artifact heal is an AoE melee heal anyway.
Well, they're still worse than Holy Palace and Discipline Priest for DPS, so I still think it's not their niche, so they should invent some for them. Well, we're gonna see what it's gonna be, so stay tuned.
Right. There's a little bit of that, a little bit of pitfall, but Yeah, I think all the healers I've said feel like they're really healing on a team now, and that no matter what healers they have, they can usually figure out what tools they have in their kits. You don't have to have a certain one, even though I do wonder if like the 3.5 or 4.5 healing meta, which means you bring 3 healers and a Disc Priest or 4 healers and a Disc Priest, will get really better as time goes on, because Discipline brings a lot to a raid group. They really do, especially for like tank survivability. So I wonder how it's going to play out. Did you guys use a Discipline Priest very often in progression?
No,
or?
not a single one.
No.
Not
Okay.
a single one.
Yeah, they feel really now. But again, I wonder if Nighthold will change things with set bonuses and stuff like that. Maybe better trinkets. I wonder. We'll have to see. Let's see. Snipe brought up, are you satisfied with rogues? I mean, this is right to you, Nurse. How are rogues feeling? Because you have all 3 specs like well to do put forward. Is subtlety like the new hidden OP right now? It's looking pretty good.
Well, sub is gonna be good if it has the legendary boots and the mythic gear. If you will get these both stuffs, it will kick asses on the single target. But as usual, I remind you, if raids contains more parts of these fights that have cleaves, AoE, you don't need sub T at all. Only outlaw.
Okay. But the rest of the rogue specs, I mean, have you play outlaw right now, but how do you feel the other ones all? Because there was a lot of back and forth on rogue.
Right now on the single target, they in some ways they are really equal to each other. Because if we compare if for example I got outlaw 27 traits, if you will have 27 traits on assassination or maybe subtlety, they will go in the same way on the single target. They really gonna be equal. But the main thing that's really often questioned on my stream, because not everyone enjoying to play by so random pirate rogue, because this roll the bones really trolls you sometimes when you re-rolling and you get 4 or more times in a row the same single buff. It's raging you sometimes. Of course, other 2 specs they are more constant, but if you will gain 2 or more buffs at outlaw spec each time, it's really much more better even on single target. So
yeah,
this is some kind of random.
No, that makes
you should just deal with it.
That makes sense for sure. These are 2 questions, I guess, that'll go to Al just because they changed with roster stuff. We talked about a little bit of this earlier, but these are more specific. So we had a question about Arms Warriors being nerfed, then buffed, and like nerfed again. They were really good, and then they're still good. Arms Warriors aren't bad. The only bad DPS right now really is a Frost Mage. They're just the weakest performing raw numbers. But did you have any switches around with like Arms Warriors? And then did you have no Frost DKs? And then do you now have one? Have they gotten better? Those 2 plate DPS were up in contention quite a bit.
Well, we have no first decays. We have only 2 unholy decays right now.
Right.
And about warriors, well, they nerf war. I didn't know. They become just more randomized right now. Like they becomes like outlaw rogue now. You got procced, you are the king. You got no, you just suck. I don't know how to tell
Well,
this.
the problem is it's just a quality of life change, but to the worst part. So they just become not so good at the situations where you, most likely been okay before. Now you got situations where you're just too bad and so on. And because of this random, they're not so good as they were. I think that's just not the right way to nerf the spec. You should nerf the thing that probably just, will not change the rotation and so on, at least until the next content, because it just makes a lot of problems for the spec and for the players.
Yeah.
And the thing they just have done to their relics and so on is just, some drastic changes to the fact that some players intentionally stacked some things and so on. Of course, that's unhealthy when some class just staking some kind of a relic, but just leave it as it is till the end of the content and feel free to nerf it after it. But just nerf it some kind in a general way without hurting some kind of special ability and just too much or just making it useless at all. So I think the best way to nerf the specs is just, slightly nerf all the ability damage instead of just plain destruction of some kind of a button or a proc, just like it has been for Arms Warriors, to make them even more random. So yeah, I think it was a bad change for them.
I mean, removing hamstring spam from resetting Tactician was definitely good, because that was pretty toxic. Like, who wants to spam hamstring to do damage? Like, what is this? Yeah. So that's fair. I mean, it was a weird back and forth. There's a couple of these specs that, like, there's so much beta testing and so much response and so much feedback, and then we get live, and then obviously bigger sample size, more people playing. Apparently we're over 10 million subs right now, unconfirmed, which is awesome for the game's life cycle. But yeah, there was a bit of like a pretty heavy-handed slap around on a few specs for sure. We talked about Shadow Priest a bit earlier. So, any comments on?
There is a question.
Go ahead.
There were a question about Warlocks.
Oh yeah, but what
about it?
About Warlocks? Yeah, what did you guys feel?
Well, I think they're probably okay. The problem was that Shadow Priest was too good in this tier, and mages are generally good and have some potent safe cooldowns. So that's why they were a bit, underrepresented in the race. However, I think with probably slight buff or even without it, they're going to be more than okay in Nighthold. So I don't think they are just in a very bad spot right now. Just more of a thing that I think they could help Affliction a bit with a single target damage, because their AoE is just insane already, probably even too good right now. So yeah, the problem is single target damage probably, though it's really good for demonology. And I think the second problem is they have almost no burst damage, which is the thing on a lot of encounters, like say hello to Elginoth on the first week, So if they're going to add some kind of a burst, except for the fact that I think they got one with legendary braces, they got some kind of a burst. So, but from the other hand, if they're going to add burst cooldowns to every class, then it's already going to be, the class homogenization again, which they're trying to avoid in Legion. So after all, I think Warlocks are not as bad as some guys tend to do and say.
Right. Yeah, they're in a weird spot. Our Warlock to Warlocks, they respec Affliction for trash and then go back to Demonology, because that's what it's like right now. And Destruction's kind of in a weird middle ground. So yeah, they're not bad, they're not great. But the thing is, they have to be really careful with Warlocks, because otherwise we're gonna have them being the top of everything again for the next expansion again. But they're always really, really strong. So yeah. Here's a funny question. Are you guys working to get the Glory of the Legion Raider achievement world first?
Actually, the fun part that back in Wrath of the Lich King, we've been spamming world first glories and so on.
Yeah.
When we were way, worse than we are now. So that was the only way to, do something at the first. So no, right now we're not even trying. Simply, all of the time almost we're just doing it when it's available already. And currently you can't achieve it because you need to finish the Nighthold achievements. So I think we're going to do it. So I think we're going to just finish it and start doing even the achievements in the first raid right after the Nighthold release, and we're going to finish the progression part of it.
Yeah. So what is that achievement? There's one you have to like go into the Nightmare and get some buff, and then you have to go to Nighthold and kill a boss with the buff on. That's
actually I don't even know, but yeah. Usually they're funny and making counters even harder than they are, so, it's okay, but not something we're aiming for right now.
Right.
Right now it's just about time managing, because management Because right now we
Yeah,
got a
indeed.
lot of stuff to do. We got Mythic Pluses, we got Elts, so much to do. So this is not the main thing that we're going to do. There are lots of questions about survival hunters that were before. We told about them that they got no utility for raid.
Sure.
So this is a pity for them, I suppose.
But who cares?
Yeah, there were a question about red paladins. Well, reds right now are really strong. Well, I can never imagine that they're gonna buff them so strong on their first raid week. But about their future, this is an interesting question because Blizzard removed the Hand of Sacrifice, and that was one of the strongest cooldown in the game.
Yeah.
Especially with the glyph that we had in Warlords of Draenor, that removing all damage to the paladin. So about the future, it's in my own opinion, it now depends only on their damage. If they will be good, they can be useful for the raid, because right now they have a really good single target burst damage. But as I can remember, I can't remember exactly what they're gonna change in the last tier talent that redesigned their management. But as I can remember, it's gonna be some kind of nerf of that. So the burst damage of the reds gonna be a bit lower than now.
Right.
So if they not going to, I don't know, fix their sustained damage, they will become useless as most tiers in the raid.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We just need to wait and see what Blizzard gonna do with that spec.
Yeah, the Crusade change, and they're giving them back Art of War and taking away the Blade of Wrath, so they're going to lose Sustain from there as well. Yeah, it's weird. They're like actually making huge sweeping changes to a class after it's launched and after it's been beta tested for 8 months. So
yeah, I remember how the Paladins, Red Paladin, were designed in November or when the alpha starts. I can't remember. That was the best class. I don't know. They designed so much good talents even in the first tiers. So, for example, you can throw a sword in 25 meters, and using this ability again, you will charge to this sword. Right. They removed this ability. They removed lots of abilities. They removed mass judgment, for example. That was awesome. I don't know why they decided to make it to less targets, so 2, 3, or maximum 4. I can't remember exactly how much targets it now cleaves. So when it was mass and you can have a full up time, that was the best class. Now they redesigned it. I don't know. It's not so interesting to play by red right now, but for a while it's really effective class. Even in Emerald Nightmare, in 5 people in Mythic Pluses, on bosses it could be useful. So on high Mythic Pluses, they are good. When you need to burst down big packs, say hello to Decay, and hold this, I don't know.
It's funny how you're probably making a lot of red paladins happy right now with how you have explained their plight.
I love Red Palace. This is
it was my main ult last expansion too. So
no, it wasn't the last expansion. I played by red at Cataclysm and in Mists of Pandaria. So this was my love in this game.
So last little bit of questions. I guess we've gone over so much, but we're at about time here. Are any Exorsus members going to BlizzCon this year? It's a pretty big BlizzCon. It's 25 years of Warcraft and 10 years of BlizzCon, but it's a bit of a trek. Is anyone actually going from the guild?
Well, actually, it's a long road for us from Russia. However, I think probably I'm going to attend to it. Can't say for sure right now, but yeah, there's a chance that we're gonna come there. At least me. Well, probably some more people too. I'm gonna discuss it with some guys.
Okay. Yeah, that's a huge trip.
So probably we'll meet you there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 20-hour
You're coming
flight.
For sure, right?
Something like that. Oh yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there. I'll be there for an entire week. Yeah, that's awesome. And I guess just do you have any final closing thoughts or any shout outs that you want to do? Feel free to throw out some things in Russian if you would like. I'm sure chat would appreciate that. But I'll go to I'll go to Nurse first on this. Do you have anything you want to toss out there? Open mic, go for it.
In Russian, or not. Well, for the non-Russian speakers, I want to say thanks everyone who congrats us with our world first. Thanks everyone who were with us right now, because it was some kind of new experience for me to be there. Then you listen by so much people. This is cool. And for my Russian viewers, спасибо вам всем, что вы были здесь, что поддержали нас и что поддерживали нас в течение контента всем, чем могли, кто морально, кто мог физически. Это было очень круто, и я надеюсь, что вы будете продолжать нас также любить, меня в частности. Так что еще раз вам спасибо. Я очень рад, что вы были сегодня этим вечером со мной. That's all.
Awesome. I have no idea what you said, but I'll gauge chat's response. And okay. And Alveona, how about you? You have any shout outs you want to end with here?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the guys who cheering for us from Europe and US for sure. And thanks for all the help from Russian members too. I mean, the guys who got us some flasks, pots, runes and stuff like that, because it really helps us and so on. Thanks to all of the raiders for their effort they're taking and giving to the guild to make sure we're able to fulfill our, well, you know, main goal to achieve world first, and I think we're going to continue to do so. So thanks a lot for them. Thanks a lot for our inactive member who's still cheering for us, even they are not part of the roster anymore. And especially thanks for our officer Swix, aka Pomfrey, who's been missing in this content. He was the guy who's been my officer for like 5 years, but due to some real life issues, he just missed this content when we got world first. So yeah, that's really some bad thing, both for us and for him. But I think after all, he's going to return to us, and we're going to continue our work on the guild. So yeah, Pomfrey, come back as soon as you can.
Yeah, we miss you.
Yeah, and talking about other guys, yeah, cheer for the tank, my lovely tank, toxic Discord chat. Hey guys. And yes, now some Russian information for our lovely guys from the chat. Ребята, спасибо всем, кто пришли. Действительно приятно видеть, что так много, скажем так, знакомых и не очень лиц. Крайне приятно понимать, что, скажем так, большую часть чата сейчас составляют русские, что говорит, что нас много. Вот. И тем, кто, возможно, смотрит из потенциальных наших рекрутов, тоже вот обратите внимание. В следующий раз можете прийти на интервью вместо Нюрса. Нюрс уже всем надоест к этому времени. Возьмем вас. Как-то так. Так что если вы очень хорошо играете за свой класс, ваша задача вот прийти, хорошо отыграть контент, и есть небольшой шанс, что будете вместе с великим мной присутствовать на таком интервью. Все, всех люблю, целую, давайте, чмаки-чмаки, может даже постримлю для вас. Всем пока.
Я знаю, где ты живешь. В следующий раз думай, что говоришь.
Yeah, I think I'm done too. And yeah, thanks Adam to you for making up this possible for us to make this interview.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a really interesting experience. I was enjoyed through all this hour and a half.
Yeah,
really cool.
Well, I gotta hit the button now, and I'll do the sign outs, and then we'll close this up. So we haven't hit this button in many, many months. So chat, here's the song you haven't heard in forever. There it is. So thank you all very much for tuning into episode number 118 of Final Boss TV. This is the Exorsus World First Mythic Emerald Nightmare. Xavius World First, the fastest one ever. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more of a tighter, maybe 2 reset-ish, 2 week-ish kind of a run in the future. But again, around the corner again, my name is Adam K. Bay. I run this little shindigs. Thank you all very much for being here. All the socials and stream links and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube are all down below. If you've missed part of the episode, of course, this will be up on YouTube tomorrow. And if you're on YouTube right now during the sign-off, hello, YouTube. Also, all of the shows go up on iTunes, Stitcher, and now Google Play Music as a MP3 only, audio only podcast. That'll be upline or online in the next couple of days as well. But around the table again to my guests, here's Nurse. You can go follow him over on his Twitch stream at Nursios. Just add an OS to the end there. But thank you very much for your time and insight on the show, sir. I really appreciate it. It's late for you now. So thank you all so much for your time on the show. You're still there. What? Hello?
Wow, we're still here?
Yes!
So surprising.
Yeah. This is just me thanking you and doing sign-outs, sir. But yeah, how often do you stream, by the way? Are you doing all the stuff now?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stream right now, so if you want, just check in. If you're the new one, if you're the old guy, just get in.
Thank you very much. And there's Alveona, the GM, keeping us all together. You can go follow their Twitter at Exorsus Wow. Keep up to date with all their stuff in the future. Go throw them a follow because they're definitely not going anywhere. But thank you very much for all your time, sir. It was an awesome show to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. It was a pleasure.
And then again, thank you all for tuning in. Everyone behind the scenes of Final Boss TV, thank you all very much. There will be a poll on Twitter. If you're watching this on YouTube, the poll might be over, and it might not be. I'm not sure. It might go up a little later tonight so you have enough time to catch it. But the poll will be posted on my Twitter. You get to vote for the next classes. So there is a pre-BlizzCon and post-BlizzCon show. No show the 6th. But the next 3 classes you can vote on. They'll either be Rogue, Warlock, or Mage. They both had a lot of changes and things going around and stuff like that crazy during the beta period. But, actually, no. Rogue, Warlock, Mage, and Hunter. You're picking the next 4. I wrote a note down for myself. That's right. So based on what wins the vote, in highest order to descending order, the next 4 spec shows will be Rogue, Warlock, Hunter, or Mage in that order. So there'll be 2 before BlizzCon, and then 2 after BlizzCon. So go vote for those, and those will be the next 4 episodes when we get back into the junket so I can plan the guests around there. Thank you all again for watching. Check out FinalBoss.tv or all my other stuff streamed out down there. You can follow the button. It's like over there. And I will see you all in the next episode. Trust in your... Oh, what's it called right now? The Seal of Tempered Fate? Is that what it's called? The coin in game right now? I think so. But until next time, guys. Bye! Bye! Wave bye at the camera. Wave bye. Wave bye.
Bye.
Wave bye at the peoples. Al, do I give him a wave? No wave? There it is.